Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Rural Symposium, Natural Resource Investing, is brought to you by G Mining Ventures.
Hello and welcome to Kitco Mining with me, Paul Harris, here at the Rural Symposium in Boca Raton in Florida. One of Canada's hottest mining jurisdictions is an area known as the Golden Triangle in northwest British Columbia. And Rudi Fronk is CEO of Seabridge Gold, which is focused on the massive KSM project there. Rudi, welcome back to Kitco.
Paul, great to be here again.
Let's start off, Rudi. What is KSM? What does that mean?
KSM is basically just the initials of 3 of our 5 deposits at this project. We call it a project, it's really a district. We have the Kerr deposit, the Sulphurets deposit, the Mitchell deposit, the East Mitchell deposit, and Iron Cap.
Quite a lot there, and you've got one of the biggest resources of any project anywhere.
We have 11 billion tons of economic resources that host significant quantities of gold and copper, silver, and molybdenum.
Wow. A number of speakers here at the Rural Symposium have said that KSM offers great leverage to rising metal prices. What does that mean?
Well, if you look at us, I think what we're most proud of is keeping our share count relatively low over the 24 years since we've been in business. Today, we only have 83 million shares outstanding, but we have 170 million ounces of gold and over 50 billion pounds of copper in all resource categories. So if you look at us on a per share basis, 2 ounces of gold per common share and over 600 pounds of copper per common share. That provides the leverage and the optionality to higher metal prices.
They're still quite attractive numbers, aren't they? Recent weeks have been quite eventful for you. You closed a $150 million US note with Sprott streaming. Tell us about that and what you'll be using that money for.
Yeah, so this is actually the second deal we've done with them in a little more than a year. Collectively, they put $500 million Canadian into the company in a secured note structure that at the point of commercial production will convert into royalties at the project. The funds we're using are to ensure that our permits do not expire in 2026. There's a mechanism in British Columbia known as substantially started that if we can get that designation on KSM, our permits will be good for the life of the project, and we're working hard to get that.
So that means doing early works investments in the project?
Yeah, we're building roads, we're building camps, we're tying into the power grid with a contract with BC Hydro, we're building bridges, and we're building fish compensation areas.
Okay, so let's put that into the sort of broader development picture for KSM. What does that look like?
Well, KSM is a project that at some point will require a major partner for us. We cannot build a $6 billion project on our own, but the work we're doing here not only will make the project life of mine permits good for us, but also is a de-risking for a major to come in terms of opening up the site access earlier than they might have otherwise.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned the fact that you need a partner to develop the project. A few weeks back, I recall I asked you about the possibility of doing a site visit this year. You said you're only taking corporates up, you're only taking miners up to look at the project this summer. How is your outreach to mining companies going, and what's the feedback you're getting from them? What are they most interested in?
Well, I think our timing is perfect right now. We did a lot of de-risking over the past 2 years with an updated pre-fees, incorporating East Mitchell with this substantially started, at a time when the major mining companies need new projects. There's no secret that the gold industry is running out of reserves. The copper companies need new projects because of green energy initiatives and future demand growth in copper. So I think our timing is good. So to lock in on that, we actually are running a formal joint venture process now. We hired an investment banker to help us with that process. We've never had as much interest shown in the past than we see right now. We have a lot of bodies at the table looking at this opportunity. And as you mentioned, we'll be scheduling site visits, have scheduled site visits for the summer for them to come in and do their boots on the ground due diligence.
Okay, one of the sort of trends in the gold space in recent years has been the major gold producers moving away from a model where they're strictly 100% sort of gold focused to being more copper gold focused. With KSM having both metals, that's obviously puts you right in the crosshairs, I imagine, for a number of these companies.
Absolutely.
Okay, it sounds like you're not going to give me any more color on that. Okay, but let's talk about you want a joint venture with a major company on attractive terms. If you could paint your ideal joint venture, what would that look like?
Yeah, great question. So obviously different companies will have different views on the type of deal. What we're going out and asking for is essentially a 2-phased earn-in. Phase one is our partner will complete and sole fund the work necessary to get to a construction decision, meaning taking our pre-feasibility study to a bankable study. During that time period, we will continue to sole fund on our end, substantially started, to ensure that the permits don't expire. And then at the point of a bankable feasibility study, the partner has a go, no-go decision. If it's no-go, they're out. If it's go, they then have to go out and raise at least 50% of the project's capital in a project facility to the benefit of the joint venture, continue to sole fund another agreed dollar amount, and then at some point in time, we'll come in on the back end with whatever proceeds may be left from our residual interest. Our goal is to keep a meaningful interest in the project. I'll define meaningful as between 40 to 49%, while minimizing our capital exposure, with hopefully that coming on the back end of spend.
Okay, so looking forward, you mentioned that at the moment it's a $6 billion development cost, give or take. For you to fund your 40% of that, are you starting to think about how you would do that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think in this, well, first of all, with a partner in place, with our dollars coming in at the end, I think it'll be very much easier to get the funding than it would be, say, today on the front end. Obviously, with private equity now showing an interest in mining space, the offtake on concentrate alone here will be substantial. There's the opportunity perhaps for a smelting company to come in to provide pre-production financing against the copper offtake agreement. There's always the streamers, the royalty players, and traditional debt on this. You look at the all-in cost of production at KSM, you're looking at a project including the upfront capital, the sustaining capital, the closure costs, the operating costs, and the net of copper and silver credits. You're looking at an all-in cost of production of $600 an ounce. That leaves a huge margin at today's gold price above $1,900 an ounce. So I think funding we'll have our different options available to us at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. And another potential option comes from government sources. The Canadian federal government and some provincial governments are sort of really getting behind the need for critical minerals and starting to make money available for that. And with copper, I presume potentially you've got access to some of those funding mechanisms.
Absolutely. We've started to reach out to the government to look at what those programs might entail. We're going to come back with some applications on where we think there might be a fit. And obviously anything that we can obtain in terms of a grant would be beneficial to our shareholders.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you've had a lot of incoming call from bigger mining houses. And also in British Columbia, Newmont has its transaction underway with Newcrest Mining. They've both got a sizable presence in the Golden Triangle. As and when that transaction concludes, what impact do you think that will have on the region?
Well, I think, the Golden Triangle is not just Newmont and Newcrest. There's Teck is there. Freeport came in with an early stage exploration play. There's a lot going on there by majors looking at it. So I personally believe that the Golden Triangle will be a major source of metal flow in Canada for decades to come. And if you look at just the activity that's going on there, it's probably one of the most exciting regions in the world anywhere. Not just on gold, but also on a critical metal like copper.
Okay. Now, in addition to your assets in British Columbia, you also have assets in Yukon, Nevada, places like that. You just started a drilling program at 3 Aces in Yukon. What is your strategy for those other assets, and how can they move the needle for Seabridge?
So when we formed the company in 1999, we took advantage of a down market and went out and acquired KSM, Courageous Lake, and a few other assets because valuations were low. In those acquisitions, we saw exploration upside and have delivered on that clearly over the years. Look at what KSM has become and Courageous Lake. In 2015, the market got slaughtered again. The gold price went from $1,900 down to $1,050, and valuations were low again. We took advantage of that and went out and did a second wave of acquisitions, first buying Iskut in British Columbia, which we believe can be another KSM. We have an $8 million program ongoing there right now looking for gold and copper. We acquired a large land package in Nevada called Snowstorm. We're drilling there as well. It's just north of two big mines that are operated in the Nevada joint venture between Newmont and Barrick. And we acquired 3 Aces at the height of COVID. We see tremendous exploration opportunities at each of these 3 projects. We believe any one of these projects could be a company maker. Our team has found more gold in the past 15 years than any company on the planet through drilling. We now have 3 new projects to play with, so stay tuned.
Okay, and in the event that you're successful there, And in the event that KSM is going forward, would you separate the companies, spin out the smaller projects?
That's always a possibility, although why create another public vehicle that takes away management time and adds costs? You know, you look at a deal on KSM, that's going to be done at the project level. We still own 100% of the other assets. In that owning 100%, we don't need to do a spin out. If somebody wanted to come in and buy the company for KSM, and I'm not saying we're for sale here because at our share price plus a market premium, I'd say most of our shareholders are clearly not interested. But at some point in time, you can then have a spin out perhaps in part of a larger transaction, but not just on our own.
Okay, well, a lot going on. So what are going to be some of the key milestones or catalysts for the company in the coming 12 months?
Exploration success. We have a program, an $8 million program at Iskut, a $7 million program at Three Aces, and a $3 million program at Snowstorm. Stay tuned on exploration results. I mean, clearly what everybody's looking for is a joint venture. I have talked about a joint venture for a number of years. It hasn't happened. We have had proposals, but just not the right one yet. It is my expectation and belief that over the next 6 to 9 months, we will have a joint venture done with a major mining company, which should unlock significant value to our shareholders very quickly.
Okay, well, I wish you the best of luck with those negotiations. Rudi Fronk, CEO of Seabridge Gold, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Paul. Pleasure to be here.
And stay tuned to Kitco Mining for more from the Rural Symposium in Boca Raton, Florida.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Rural Symposium, Natural Resource Investing, is brought to you by G Mining Ventures.